This is the North End. This is the North End.
Welcome to the North End Podcast. It's a Premier League podcast. It's the reviews and previews show. We've got some of the usual suspects, and we've got a special guest with us today. We'll get to him last so we can get to a bit of an intro there. I'm going to go around the horn. Lukey boy, good to see you, brother. How are you, mate?
I'm good, man. I got a new villa top. Look at this.
I see.
It's,
Pretty fancy.
no, I'll tell you
It's
what.
nice,
They make
actually.
they make some damn good stuff. But I'm just so incredibly cheap that I would never buy it until 3 seasons later. But my mother, seeing that I was in need of a pick me up, treated me. So
Well, there's no shipping either, right? That helps.
That definitely saves a couple of coins. Yeah, but it's good, bro. It's good, bro. Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
good.
it looks good, buddy. You look good. You look healthy. You look happy. That's a positive thing. Polly
Well,
Forrest.
that's a lie, but
yeah.
I'm glad I look at least.
I'm trying to be nice to you here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Polly, from the trees. How are you, brother?
Good, man. I'm just wondering if Luke's mom saved some money by buying the kids section, or if it's like an adult top, or
it does look like it could be short of the shoulders there. I don't know.
and that's got
Take
to
that hat off, Paul.
gotta
It's
be.
because he's
Ruth
big
have
and
a hat
buff,
on
guys.
inside.
Because
That's
he's big and buff.
expensive.
Let's,
Take that hat off inside, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. And a Merry Christmas to all. A day or two later, but yeah, I'm good, man. I had a really nice, relaxing, totally unrelaxing 5 crazy kids, nieces, and my son running around. I can feel the illness that they give me. Not COVID, but something. They gave me something. I can
it's
feel
inevitable, right?
I can working through my body right now. It's suddenly very cold and chilly. But yeah, no, I'm good. I was happy there was some football to watch.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily the best football to watch. We'll get to that, obviously, but I'm sure you weren't as happy as Mr. Convery was, or unhappy as Mr. Convery was, I should say.
Oh yeah, he'll throw himself off a building because
He will. He seemed pretty upset. JP, I'm coming to you, brother. You are a little glitchy on the video perspective, but hopefully your audio is good and we can get a little bit feedback on how you're feeling today.
Hopefully the audio is good. I don't know what happened with that, but I apologize to the viewers. I'm doing
So
pretty
JP,
well.
so JP, what we're gonna do? What we're gonna do is turn your video off and then answer the question, and then if that's problematic, we're gonna move on.
It's like when they have CNN and the guy's like somewhere in a bunker and it's clearly not the best like connection.
All right, JP, let's try that. How are you, brother? Good to see you, man.
I'm doing good. Are you guys all right?
No, it's still a mess. We're gonna have to let you go, JP. Unless you feel like you can get it fixed, but something's not right with your connection today. And say goodbye to JP California. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Reset the router. Reset
Reset
the
your router,
man.
reset everything.
That's been the North End correspondent, JP California, from the fire rage California shores.
And then there were 4. And I want to welcome our guest, Cameron. Cameron, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're obviously you had your own podcast previously, TFC related. You're a Liverpool fan, but give us the gist, buddy.
Oh, thanks, Brian. I'm excited. I didn't realize this was like a Survivor-esque podcast.
It is.
show
It is.
where If I screw up,
Your
you're
connection
gone.
fails. You're
5
right.
minutes.
Looking at Paul next. Fucking
Yeah,
Paul.
I love that. I appreciate you gentlemen having me on the North End podcast. This is awesome. As you mentioned, I had a podcast during kind of this past year of COVID, trying to connect my supporters club, the Red Patch Boys, for TFC. Because you lack that human element, which is such a big part of football. It's seeing people, it's having that community. And I knew at times, even though I have my wife here, we felt alone and separated. So we started doing a podcast with not much to talk about because it was all speculation.
Yeah. You're just basically talking transfer rumors the entire time.
That's exactly it. It's unfortunately the coverage of football in Canada isn't great, even with a Major League Soccer club. So, we were all just kind of making it up. But it was a great way to connect people and have some fun. And now we're in the middle of the Premier League season. It's been great to hear you guys talk about some games and banter, which is what it's all about.
Nice. I just want to say for our UK listeners and watchers, MLS and TFC, that it's a MLS team, and Toronto.
Sorry, the best MLS
just kind of confused because people are like, well, who the hell is that? Jermaine Defoe played here before. It's just look it up.
Jermaine Defoe came for a year, looked around, went, "Fuck this."
Yeah, his mom actually said, "Fuck this." But anyway,
yeah.
It's good to have you on, Cameron. It's a pleasure. Looking forward to it. Tell us a little bit quickly about your Liverpool support. And obviously you're a pretty happy camper this season. They've been playing good football.
Yeah, finally, it was Dr. Jacqueline, Mr. Hyde after last season and the season before that, right? It's kind of sandwiched in between two amazing seasons so far. My affinity and love for Liverpool comes from birth. My mother's from Chilwell in Liverpool, so I was raised in a household where that was on every weekend. Not necessarily because of my mom.
Chile.
Chile, yeah, no, the Chilean
my mother is Chilean. I'm like, okay, yeah, nice.
And my dad's from Barrow-in-Furness, so he loved growing up watching Emily Hune play. So it's been fun, growing up and watching that, memories of them Champions League wins and Miracle in Istanbul. But it's great to see them playing well now, where it's entertaining football. I have memories of just enjoying club football across England when it's good to watch. Of course, I'll go into debates about which team's always better, but at the end of the day, I'm just passionate about football, and Klopp does play a really fun, entertaining version of it.
Yeah, it was a great game between Spurs and Liverpool last week, and talk about entertaining football. Probably one of the best games of the season so far. I was happy that my team was involved and that we didn't lose, so I sort of expected to get spanked. Let's get into the results then. I'm going to add the slate here, and we're going to let Paulie take over.
Man City absolutely fucking destroy Leicester 6-3 in a game that had 9 goals, representing
6-3. I think you're on the wrong slate here. I've got the wrong slate up here.
They played Leicester, so I don't know what to tell you, but
I got the wrong slate. That's from last week.
Cool. All right. So I'm just going to keep talking then.
Yeah, keep talking. My bad.
Yeah, 6-3. 9 goals on Boxing Day, which is a Premier League record. A game that had 8 different goal scorers. Leicester were 4-0 down after 25 minutes. This game was never really in doubt. Leicester tried to make a game of it, but honestly, 6-3 is the power of Manchester City right now. Manchester City having scored 17 goals in their past 3 games. There is a lot of talk right now that this may be the best Premier League team ever assembled. Is that too early to say? Is that kind of par for the course? Is that a shocking, controversial statement? Because the more I see these guys play, the more I'm like, I can't remember a team being this dominant, and I watched United all in the 90s. This is like next level dominance, and there's reasons why they're able to be dominant because they're cheaters. But is that a statement we start to feel like we need to start giving some credence to? Possibly the best team ever assembled for the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to argue. It of course, with the cheating is the biggest issue that I think we all struggle with. I'd love to get Cameron's thoughts on this as well. How bothered are you by the situation that we're currently in, with obviously what's happened with Newcastle as well, and what Man City have done with all their money?
I think heading into the Qatar World Cup, human rights are becoming more and more of a conversation piece around football. And I don't think even as a show here, we look at results. You can't not kind of drag the shit that is the world into the discussion. So how do I feel about it? It's poorly regulated. It's all about greed, but separate the money from all that, and you look at what they're able to do as athletes and as Pep Guardiola's magic. This is amazing. It's able to fit together all the pieces that just because they're big money doesn't mean they're going to work nicely. He has them ticking over like a fine-tuned watch. It's unbelievable. I remember starting the season saying, man, City really need a striker. Do they? Do they?
50 goals I think they're at this season without a striker, without a number 9.
I think the biggest shock here is just you see Pep's master plan really tested when you lose players like Rodri in the midfield, and all of a sudden that counter, they're in big trouble and they're conceding goals against a very desperate Leicester team there. So, it's these really subtle things that Pep's done and that teams really put together that, yes, all the money in the world could help with, but doing it right, that's the impressive part.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Paul, anything to add? Luke, anything to add?
I'm just gonna say I hate it. I hate it. I mean, if you're gonna cheat, why not cheat to become the best ever? Don't cheat just to survive. Cheat to become the best. But the way they're playing right now is insane. It's the amount of goals that are like Pep Guardiola goals, where it's like literally a tap in. They're this perfectly assembled. I honestly can't remember a team outside of Barcelona back in the 2000s with like Iniesta and name the spine of that team. They're all fantastic. That was the best team I've ever seen
Xavi,
play.
Iniesta.
That's the best team I've ever seen play. And now I'm like, I think Man City are encroaching into the same territory. They have to do it in the Champions League to really get to that level. But like, best team in the Premier League, I almost feel like, yeah, like it's a given. Best team ever assembled. I mean, if they can win the Champions League this year, I think they're in that argument. And I hate it, but it's at the same time, I'm trying to be appreciative of when are we going to be able to see this again in the Premier League? Like this is watching the Chicago Bulls and not liking the Bulls, but you still got to respect how good they were at the time. I think we might be there a little. And I know as a United fan, that's I struggle with trying to be appreciative of this, but 10, 15 years down the road, we're not going to see this again.
Yeah, it'll be Newcastle doing it instead.
Yeah.
Luke, you wanted to add something, buddy?
No, I think Paul's points are bang on. Really, it is frustrating watching them. I think the height of how good this team is you just look at what they've made of Cancelo. Like kind of more of a fringe player the last couple of years, and now without doubt probably the best performing wing back in European, if not totally international football. He's absolutely sensational, and I think it's a point. I do just kind of enjoy hearing Paul whine a little bit about the other Man United, the other Manchester team, and talk about they've cheated. I'm pretty sure there's a number of statistics that United have spent more over the last like 3 or 4 seasons, and it's
spending more because you have money though. Spending more because you're owned by a country are two different things.
Nobody's questioning cheating as being spending. It's spending more than you're allowed is cheating. I'm not going to be, woe is me, they spent money. Like you can't be that way. I would never be that way.
I wouldn't be surprised if United have done this before, and if other teams. I think it's so obvious with Man City. I think again, it's like saying, well, this pharmaceutical, big pharma are probably bad, but the rest of them are fine. I don't know. I'm not sure if United and stuff hadn't done a little bit of this themselves over the years, but yeah.
So your general takeaway is nobody has a right to complain about Man City anymore because nobody's clean.
All right, guys. This is not what this
complain, but I just think. No,
Reviews and previews, guys.
No, well, I mean, first of all, he's still offended because I called him out on his child jersey, so he's trying to pick on me as the Man United guy. He's like, I find it interesting the Man United guy is talking about Man City.
You can't hear anything about Man United.
Man City smashed up Leicester. It looked like it was going to be a close game at one point. It was 5-3, I think, at one point, and it looked like Leicester were getting back into it. Scored a few pretty good goals, and of course, Man City's defense looked a little porous at moments. I was surprised by that, to be fair. When it came to Man City, I thought they were pretty tight for most of the season so far, and to let those 3 goals in, like Leicester were able to get through them.
I think there's a danger that happens when you get 4-0 up so early that you can kind of just like
5 minutes was it something ridiculous?
Yeah, a little cozy probably. But Man City's doing Man City things. They still scored 6 goals again. They're scoring goals for fun.
And Bernardo Silva got none of them and not a fucking assist on the board.
Yeah, good. Luke clearly had him in his fantasy team, and that's why he was bitching about it all.
I had to
not the only one.
The first one, and I was like, "Oh, here we go." I forgot to change my team. I was so adamant that I'd wait till the last minute. I had to jump on a call, and I totally forgot to change. I was like, "Oh God,
amazing!"
But it was it's beautiful to watch, isn't it? But
all right, Paulie,
wasn't any big scoring.
I do one more question or point there is because it was almost great because the cup tie for Liverpool and Leicester, seeing them come back, and Leicester almost doing the same thing to City, but Brendan Rodgers capitulating, right? It seems like it's kind of a thing where he gets kind of rocky near a point of success. Why not bring on Vardy? I didn't see why. Why not bring him on and push the envelope? You're already going to lose. Why not push it when you were down 4-3? Any thoughts on that?
I think he's got to be mindful. They've got Chelsea coming up. Jamie Vardy is 36 years old, and he is absolutely under workload management right now. Like, there's been a couple of games where somebody's called out, like, why wasn't Vardy on? And it's like, well, in that game, maybe that's a mistake. But if you look at the schedule of games they have coming up, it's not, because the worst thing that could happen to them is if he pulls up lame for 6 weeks. So I think when you're down 4-0, you just hope for the best, but they were never really in it. So why risk injury when they've got Chelsea coming up?
I'd have to agree with Paul. I think that makes the most sense. I think from a management perspective, you've got bigger games coming up. You don't want to risk, you're going to lose anyway, unless you really thought you were going to get another 2 goals and able to tie a Man City team that were rampant. So yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah, my take.
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta celebrates his 2-year anniversary in charge of Arsenal with a convincing 5-0 drubbing of Norwich. Saka's 2 goals make him the second youngest Arsenal gunner to reach 10 Premier League goals in a season, or in his career, rather. Arsenal have scored more away goals in the last 2 road games than they managed in the previous road games combined. To make that clear, 9 goals in the last 2 road games versus 6 accumulated goals over all the road games up to that point in the season. So whatever issues they had on the road, they seem to be shedding those issues fairly comfortably and confidently. Arsenal are, if they are anything right now, they seem to be very comfortable and very confident. They've had a fairly decent run of fixtures, which have allowed them to do that. They've had some clubhouse issues that I think have been dealt with very well, with Aubameyang kind of quietly being pushed out the door, which is
he gone, do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
you think January?
Yeah,
I think
or
there was a
he's
moment.
not going to play again for them. I can't see.
Arteta was asked about this specifically, and there was a moment where he
saw
just
this.
kept saying he was not on the team sheet. And then they asked him about his future again, and he just stared at the reporter saying he was not on the team sheet.
Yeah, stop asking him. Let him do what he was doing. He's actually doing the right thing, and this is something that in that squad has needed to happen for a long time. So my thoughts on Arsenal as a Spurs fan. I don't like him, but I like what he's done here. I think this is good management. I think he's doing the right thing for a player that has been spoiled and thinks he can get away with whatever he wants to get away with because of who he is and what he's done in the past. He's been bad for a season and a half. He hasn't done anything. His numbers are crap and his attitude's crap.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
Yeah, send him packing.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Lacazette's carrying these guys right now. Like he has been doing the job.
Smith Rowe's been really good. Saka's been really good. They've had some good young players come in. And
Smith Rowe
have-
isn't even playing. That's how good he is. He's not playing. He's coming on with like 10
Yes,
12 minutes
yeah.
and scoring.
When did that
It's
guy
unreal.
become the wonder
super
sub?
Yeah, super sub. It's weird.
Like I
I
hate
don't
it.
like
Like
it. Yeah,
he's
I
so
don't
good.
like it.
I mean, if you're a fantasy guy, he's still
I put
getting
him in my
goals.
fantasy
But
team. He's getting
Well, I have-
points.
I
First
have
time I
to
put an
ask,
Arsenal
as-
player on my fantasy team ever.
Did anyone put Martinelli in and see him pick up nil point?
no, I
That
can't
was
say
that was hilarious. There was
I
a
didn't
lot
fall
of
for the bait.
people- Yeah, a lot of people going Martinelli, and I watched and went, well,
Maybe.
this Martinelli didn't score.
I
Yeah.
think big credit to Martinelli for coming back from that injury and rising to the occasion and being as good as he has been. That must have been devastating
sure.
when he came out, and to bounce back the way he has and really fit into a young, exciting Arsenal squad. Big kudos to him. I think a huge amount of respect for him. Is he Brazilian or Italian?
He's Brazilian, yeah.
He's Brazilian, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
shout. I think he's been really good. Their young players have stepped up. I mean, Saka's been amazing, across the board. So
Odegaard.
Odegaard's been
Odegaard,
good.
massive.
They've
Yeah.
got a really good young
Brilliant.
squad, and that's bodes well for them.
Do we think Arteta is better at coaching the younger players, having been through that kind of farming system at City, to come over and maybe struggles with these big personalities like Aubameyang, who really got the big contract and didn't care anymore? Even the Shakas, like, do we see that as a trend?
I think a new coach coming into a team that already has a bunch of stars that have been there for a long time is always way harder. If you get to bet in the youth and you get when Pochettino came into Spurs, it was like that. Get rid of all these older players, bring in the younger players, and then they'll do what you ask them to do.
Yeah.
Whereas the older players are like lazy and be like, screw you, I don't want to do it. Whereas, you can see the difference in the younger players and how they're responding.
Aubameyang is like, he's a nut job. Like, he's also a special case. Like he's had issues pretty much everywhere he goes, and when he has issues, it's just really weird decision things. Like he's in the doghouse because he went off to Spain to get a tattoo during a pandemic. Like you can't coach around that kind of brain that thinks that that's an okay thing to do. But what you can be is divisive in your decision to say, okay, well, you're out the door. I want to give a special shout out to Tierney, who I think is in a bit of a role right now. He's making the right back role, I believe, at Arsenal his own. He is popping up with, left back, I believe. He's popping up with goals and assists. They are ticking like so many clubs in the Premier League when their left backs and right backs are taking over and getting into the offensive side of play. The results are there. The goals aren't just one or two goals. You bust teams open when this kind of thing happens. And there's so many teams in the Premier League that are struggling with the form of those left backs and right backs. But I think Tierney had a little bit of a sit down. Arteta's been managing him really well. He lost his place for a couple weeks, and then he came back really hungry. And that's the kind of man management that maybe goes under the radar. So I want to give a little bit of on his 2-year anniversary, a little bit of a nod to Arteta for managing Tierney. In what ways I think it's been pretty spectacular the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Quick question from JP, since he's in the comments instead of being able to be here. He says, "Is he top 4 quality?" My first response to that would be, we don't know yet. I think there's a few other teams that are going to be asking the same question. They seem to play really well against teams that aren't in the top 6. They had like Paul said, they've had a pretty good run of fixtures where they've only played 1 or 2 teams that are in that sort of difficult situation, or difficult teams to play. So I think we'll see when they go through a difficult run of games, and whether or not they'll be able to get through them. I think they'll struggle. Yeah. I think that's where they're as a young side, doesn't mean they won't eventually get there. Maybe next season. Youth. Yeah, I mean, you don't win anything, but you can certainly you can build something with it, and then eventually win when you bring in other players around them. But I think they're top 6. They're playing
I think we're going to find out the next 4 weeks, because they've got Man City, Tottenham, Burnley, and Wolves on the docket. And I mean,
big Burnley.
Let's not forget, they must still have nightmares over what happened when they played Man City last. That's going to be a difficult run of fixtures that starts off with
and if they play open football, like they play out from the back, like they've been doing against a team that is like the presses like Man City does, they're going to get spanked.
Pack of wolves.
And if they accept that and they just, okay, we're going to lose and we're going to learn something from it, good on them. But good question, JP. Absolutely. Any other thoughts on this game? Anybody else?
No.
Lucky boy? No, you're done. Okay.
Spurs get some revenge after Crystal Palace, who beat them earlier in the season, winning 3-0. They are now up to 5th in the table and extend their Premier League unbeaten run to 6 games, whereas Crystal Palace, their form is just dropping terribly. They didn't register a single shot in this game, which is very telling. A very bad day for Zaha. He got a red card. He gave the ball away 10 times in the 36 minutes that he was on the pitch.
Brutal.
I actually think, truthfully, that Crystal Palace played better when he was off and they were down to 10. Just a wild game. It looked very clinical. A good, solid day at the office for Spurs. Brian, what's the take from the Spurs fans?
I mean, it was under Conte, we just play different football. It's really nice to watch. It's really quick, one touch, less dribbling, or less trying to beat players, and more team based, and a good structure with, like you just mentioned about wingbacks. Wingbacks are incredibly important. They're going to get up the pitch a lot. Having 3 at the back protects those wingbacks, and then you have an extra midfielder if you play 3 in the mid, depending if it's a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3. Man of the match was Lucas Moura. Unbelievable performance in this game.
What a game.
Unbelievable for him. A goal and 2 assists. And
just the goal. A good fantasy shout, do you think, Bri?
I think right now, absolutely. I think like any player under Conte who's starting to come through, you should put money on, because of the difference in how they're playing. And he's one of them. He's a player that never scored goals for us or got assists, and all of a sudden, in the last few games, he's just been everywhere. So, and an interesting stat I read as well is that the team's dribbled a lot less, and I mentioned that just in the build up to that, is that they're not dribbling with the ball, they're passing more. He's the one who always had the most dribbles in the team. He had the least dribbles in his Tottenham career in this game, and won man of the match and got 2 assists and a goal. So that it's kind of the difference in what the coach is doing for him. So I would say a good shout for fantasy for sure. I don't think it's going to stop at this game. I think you're going to see a lot more from him. But yeah, great performance, and I'm buzzing with Spurs at the moment, as you can imagine.
I think it was a great overall game. Conte's really getting his systems down, and I think all 3 strikers firing now with Kane, Moira, and Son looking good. That's Tottenham's bread and butter. Having those 3 really be devastating for teams. I would love to see them continue this form, but did Crystal Palace overperform in the beginning of the season? I thought Vieira struggled in MLS when he came to Palace.
That's the same thought I had. I had the exact same thought about him.
I just didn't see it happening. And then, wow, just results. They were like cardiac kids that either score late or concede late. Exciting football. But, if you've got a leader in that squad like Zaha, nothing against him. I think he's a phenomenal athlete. Just his brains go out the window sometimes. You see him, you can see the kind of penny drop right before he makes the wrong decision. You're like, oh, buddy, what are you doing? And I was always hoping he'd kick on, but it's
He's
really
so
sad to see.
easy to wind up. I think
Yeah.
Cam. I think that's the you know, as you get older, there's players over the years that have had that, and they've got that little fiery temper. And if I'm coming in and I'm a defender against a player like that, the first thing I'm doing is I'm leaving a mark on him. I'm
Yeah,
giving
get in
him a
his
little
ear and leave a
slug,
mark.
I'm in his ear. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
100%.
I'm going to catch him. If I pick a yellow, it doesn't bother me. And that's
The old
that's
halfway light
exactly what
tackle.
Spurs
Yeah.
did. Exactly, man. You know, they did that, and they got into him, and you know, it's such a shame because there's no doubt in how talented Zaha on his day. He's a phenomenal player, but it's just
He's great at football. He's not a great footballer. You know, like
Yeah.
a great footballer
yeah.
knows these things and doesn't make those bad decisions.
Right.
But he's
Get that
really
on a
good.
t-shirt, mate.
It's true though. Like I think it's a good way of looking at it because a good footballer doesn't make those bad decisions, especially early in a game, and especially in a game it's the opposite fixture of what happened. The exact same scoreline, the other way around.
I think
with Tanganga, hear me out though. With Tanganga getting a red card, doing the exact same thing. He literally, because of what he had done, so he should know better.
Yeah.
He's been in that situation, been on the other side of that situation. It's just bad decision making.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe Tanganga and Wilfred Zaha are not Christmas buddies? Like,
No, probably not.
no,
But
probably not.
this was within Davis and Sanchez in this game, but it was basically the same thing that happened. And again, if you're involved in that on the other side of it, you know it's happening. You should be able to make a good decision and go, you know what, I'm not going to let this get to me. And he just does it every time. It's so easy.
Yeah, he does. He bites. He bites.
He's silly. He's a silly boy.
What's up, Cody? Mate?
West Ham hosting Southampton lose to Southampton in a little bit of a shocker,
happening with
2-3. Southampton
Crazy.
in a game that had Southampton take the lead 3 different times to beat them late with a James Ward-Prowse penalty. West Ham have now only won once in their last 7 Premier League games, and the question that Luca just posed is the question I think everybody should be asking: what the hell is going on with West Ham after what was? I mean, I don't know if we can all say we were on the same bandwagon here, but there was a lot of people talking about David Moyes being a fantastic manager in October, November. And then since that kind of got put out into the world, things have fallen apart. The wheels are off the West Ham wagon.
Do you think, I'll throw it to our beautiful guest, Cam, do you think that maybe this is what a couple of us had mentioned, and we mentioned here on the pod a couple of times about there is quite a distinct lack of depth in that West Ham squad, and there was a lot of talk about, is the stamina, is the momentum going to run out? Is this the case?
It's
is that
January.
what we're seeing here, Cam?
Or it's December. I mean, sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I think you're seeing a team that's, again, similar to Crystal Palace, overachieved. They've continued to build on success and run their programs. And with Mikel Antonio doing as well as he did up top, losing him and not getting minutes, you're seeing this team slowly decline. Think about how many clutch goals he would get and how effective he was. Without him, even coming on late, he scored. You're seeing his influence. And I think that's a huge focal point for that club. And they lack that depth around it to alter the plan. So I think without Antonio, this club lacks an ability to change their identity.
Spot on. Yeah.
Which is, I'm only gonna caution one little thing. Antonio hadn't scored in 11 games.
Yeah, I was gonna add that.
And actually ended up scoring in this game, which was a bit of a surprise. He came off in the bench and joined in the second half. But I don't think I could talk about the form of West Ham and highlight Antonio selection. Maybe they're not using him the right way anymore. Maybe that's the issue. But he has been deadly quiet from the scoring table for a long time now. And maybe that's more the point is like when he dries up, who's carrying the load? Who, like Bowen was stepping up a little bit for them, but they're giving up a lot of goals. They're not scoring a lot of goals. Like there is just like this fundamental drop this across the board. Every areas of every phase of open play. They're just not doing as well.
Yeah, I would add that, and I think this was mentioned, but sort of the December amount of games the team has when they don't have the squad to deal with it, they're going to get tired. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a combination of all of these things. Antonio's not scoring goals. The team's getting a little tired. They're playing a lot of football, and with a team that has this small squad like West Ham, that's what we're going to see happen. It's likely, and whether they'll get out of it or not is when things start to calm down in January and February. We'll have to wait and see. But they have some quality in that team, and if that team is fully fit in their first 11's plan, they can beat anybody. But that isn't the case at the moment, and they're going to struggle when it isn't.
Europa League has its draws, right? The team could be tired from Europa travel, from doing these things. It doesn't seem like
that's another thing. Yeah.
Now heading into a very busy Christmas season, they're all probably fatigued.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think there's a certain element of they were overperforming Like Fornals
They were.
and Ben Rama are
Little bit.
like they were statistically way over what they've ever shown they were able to do in the Premier League, and both of them are at a point where that could have been them entering into their like, I am now comfortable in the Premier League, this is what I'm all about stage, or it could have just been a blip that wasn't going to be carried over and consistent. And it seems like it's more likely the latter, and it's been a bit of a blip early form. But like across the board, there's just so many players that were performing so well early in the season that are just doing nothing right now.
They came out in the social
Yeah.
media too, which always ruins things. And said, oh, they lost. I think it was when they lost to Brighton, or they drew to Brighton, or something like that. And they were like, oh, we dropped points, and now we're out of the, not necessarily in the top four. We're going to come back. And then they've like been really crap since. So, I just wondered if maybe
Yeah,
there's
they
a
didn't
little
help themselves with that one.
little overconfidence in where they think they are, and instead of being humble and just trying to continue to, the way they were playing, they've gotten believe their own hype to some extent.
Yeah, again, some of those
I think
results
the
you look early
general-
on, they had a pretty easy run versus Leeds, Brentford, even an Everton team, a really underperforming Spurs team. They were, pulling out victories, not conceding. But I think now they've faced a bit more of a stiff competition. They're falling back to reality, which is, I think, a common ground. We're seeing
Which I welcome very much. Their bubble's been popped.
Gotta love it when the bubbles popped.
I think
and-
the lack of it. I think the lack of a good number 9, and I think Antonio was performing at a good number 9. Obviously, Man City, we were talking about how ridiculous it is, but it makes the difference. And a good number 9 transitions very well, Paul, into the next game. There you go.
It does indeed. Lukaku helps power Chelsea past Aston Villa, coming on in the second half and looking like the thing that they would have been missing the entire first half. He has now scored 9 times after facing Aston Villa 10 times. So if there's a guy you don't want to see play Aston Villa and you're an Aston Villa fan, it's Lukaku, who looked like a beast at different times during the course of the second half. Just looked like, oh my God.
That run for the penalty was just insane.
Just insane. This isn't the kind of game where I think anybody can say, well, yeah, this is the Lukaku we all thought we were going to get in the Premier League. This is going to be the thing that shuts the doubters down. His first touch is all of a sudden not vindicated because of this performance. But Chelsea looked a lot better in the second half than they did in the first, and his focus and the ball to him specifically gave them all direction that it felt like they were maybe lacking in the first half. Aston Villa went for it. I'm going to say that. I thought Aston Villa were in this game. I thought they were really troubling Chelsea in the first half. I don't know how
they
you
would
can
win this game from the first half.
First half, I thought for sure, but very early on in the second half when Lukaku was on, I thought it was pretty obvious the tide had shifted, and it was directionally going to be more likely Chelsea, and that's what it ended up being. Was this a case of drop points for you, Luke? Did you think that you guys had a chance to win this one?
Yeah, no, I think Villa have been brilliant under Steven Gerrard. That's the first point I want to make. We really have. I'm going to be honest, this was a really great Villa performance for 45 minutes. And what we saw, there were 3 key reasons we lost this. Number 1, a little bit of ineptitude between our centre forwards. We're still trying to get this combination of Ings and Watkins working, and it just isn't playing out. There was a number of times where both of them selfish took shot on. Chalobah massive tackles, but this was one of the issues that they had. That he just wasn't. They weren't pairing well together, and the other obviously massive one was Danny Ings is a player just bereft of actual confidence or form right now, because 2 or 3 of the opportunities he had, he would have buried them without even looking. Last season, the season before. So those 2, and then actually just not taking our chances. If we'd done those 3 things a little better in the first half, we'd have had 3 against Chelsea. We wouldn't have had 1. We'd have gone in at least 2, if not 3-1 up. And then you've got a very different game. And Lukaku came on, and you can joke about it, but it's frightening how strong this man is. It is absolutely frightening. And someone has put out a video on TikTok, like a Villa fan, just highlighting a couple of Mings's key moments, and it is worrying. Mings is seen as this phenomenal defender, and some of the things he does are just mind-numbingly poor. And he had no idea how to handle Lukaku, which is difficult. And poor old Matty Target it was like when the older kids steal the younger kids' ball on the playground. That's what Matty Target looked like running back to try and stop Lukaku. He just had no idea. So it was a great win for Chelsea, but it does show you, when we all talked about Chelsea leading the title opportunity, really like a very, very key favorite maybe to win the league. You take Lukaku out of this, and they are not the same team because they haven't got anything clinical. We know Werner's not clinical. Havertz doesn't look comfortable in that position, and I just don't think they've got the quality that a Man City have. But I'm very happy. Honestly, I know we lost 3-1. I was devastated with how we lost it, but it was just more we lost it. But we had a lot of young players come on. Chukwuemeka looks great. And just if we can just get Ings and Watkins playing as a partnership rather than as two individuals, we're going to do real well.
So just in the comments, JP disagrees with you, Luke, and I'm gonna read his comments for you. JP says they won't play together. Ings doesn't look fit, and we haven't won a game where they're both starting. Oh my God, Luke, shut the fuck up. Get off Mings' back. Fuck, I wish I was on. Well, you're not, JP. Get your tech shit together, and you can come on. And
exactly. At least I can get my tech shit. No, but I disagree. There is that you have to keep trying to get. You cannot buy Danny Ings and not play Danny Ings if you can avoid it. And that's the problem. And I think we're better with the partnership if they can find it. It's all it is they're just not. They haven't quite clicked onto how to work together. But if they do, if you watch the first 45 of that game and just look at the times that if they just looked up once, either or of them was available for an open pass, and it's a very different thing.
I would agree with that. Look, from what I saw some selfishness from the front too. I thought both of them were kind of playing,
which you love as a striker, you love, but
to some extent. But you need a little bit of give and take there for sure.
Of course you do.
Yeah, quick question from Yoki1X. Yoki1X is asking, who do you think will finish higher in the table, Aston Villa or Leicester? I'm going to give that one to you, Luke. Who do you think is going to finish higher?
How many? Can someone tell me? I've got all my devices being used right now. Can you tell me the point differential right now on Leicester and Villa?
Leicester are currently on 17 games played, 22 points. Villa are on 18 games played, 22 points. So tied on points, one game more for Villa.
I would say I'd need to do
keep
it
in mind. Keep in mind, the standings right now are built on the entirety of the season, and not the Steven Gerrard revolution that's happening at Aston Villa right now. Like your form,
sure.
if you go from when he stepped in, and honestly, Brendan Rodgers is going to be in the hot seat in about a game or two.
Yeah,
I think they've got enough talent at Leicester to still overperform the Villa. I think the Madisons, the Vardys, they've got some very key players. Tillemans obviously still not fully fit. If they get their team fully fit again, I think Leicester finish above us in about 7th or 8th. But if we can just steal a couple of points from these top and not drop against the likes of a Crystal Palace or I'm looking now at Brentford or a Newcastle and stuff like that, then there's no reason Villa can't finish in the top 9, top 10. But it just really depends on picking up those points against those kind of teams.
My last summary point for this, because I think it's an exciting win for the entire league, is, again, Lukaku. Will he work out? Will he not work out? We don't know. But if he can bed himself into this Chelsea team, the next 3 fixtures would be Brighton, Liverpool, and Man City. And it would be very good for the league if Chelsea could find a way to get 6 points off of both Man City and Liverpool. Mostly Liverpool, I think, would be the one that I'd like to see. But I think for the benefit of the league, it's probably the best if Chelsea can get 3 points off of a City, with as led by what you could be argued as is a game changer in Lukaku. That could be a very exciting development that we might see in the next 3 weeks. 3 game weeks, actually, only 2 weeks of actual time pass. So that's promising for the league, I think. And if you're a Chelsea fan, hopefully that's promising for you guys as well. The next game is a bit of a weird one because it involves a dominant display by Brighton over Brentford that actually resulted in 3 full points for Brighton.
They scored 2 goals, and they were good goals.
It's a very unusual turn of events for Brighton, who usually play very well and don't win. In fact, this is them playing very well and ending an 11-game winless run, which is wild, and it will always be wild to me that they play so well and they can't seem to win. This one looked relatively simple for them. It was a nice day at the office for Brighton hosting Brentford. I didn't get the sense that Brentford were worthy of a 2-0 defeat. I thought they played fairly well. This was just a game that is unlike most Brighton games in that the opportunities they had, they took. They were clinical on this day, and I know it's the Premier League. That's the difference. Do you guys think that this is maybe a turnaround for Brighton, maybe a drop for Brentford, or is this just like whatever, mid-table?
Cameron, go ahead, man.
These are such tough games for Brighton. They play so well. They squeak past games, but draws against Newcastle, draws against Arsenal, two very different results if you look at them. But I still think Neil Maupay is their talisman. If he's on that day, they win games. He's got to be a hinge there. And I know I'm banking everything on strikers now with my Antonio comments, but it's so true with him scoring. I think he really drags that team over the finish line. I think the coach has them running really well, but you need that little bit of magic in the Premier League to win games that apparently Norwich will never find. But they're mid-table right now with 8 draws, 5 wins. They're kind of mediocrity, but
it's the highest position they've been in the Premier League in their history, in the top flight in their history.
A couple of chances could have gone their way, and they could be 9 points the richer, which is insane to think about. And where would that put them in the league? So I think Brentford are languishing. I think they're going to drop. Unfortunately, I think Leeds are in a similar case where they're really worn out. But Brighton have this steely determination against them that you're always having to fight for points against them, and I think that they're worthy of people talking about in that top half discussion. But they need pieces. I don't know if they have the money to do it, but they still need to start adding to that realm of possibilities to change it up and be able to push themselves further. But with Neil Maupay, he's just a weird guy, figuring out how to score goals.
He scores some crackers too when he does score.
He really does.
But he misses sitters all the time as well. It's a strange one. Trossard is a lovely player as well. He scores some great goals and he's got some good skill on him. I like watching him play.
He's a great player.
Trossard has got like a fairly insane record for goals outside of the box.
Yeah,
I love me a guy who can score routinely from outside the box. There's not a lot of guys in the Premier League outside of Kevin De Bruyne that I can name off as being like a constant threat. But Trossard is quietly, he's one of them. Yeah.
Do you know what? I read the best about Kevin De Bruyne the other day. It was great. It was like, it must be amazing to manage Kevin De Bruyne because the guy has his own stamina bar. You just watch how ready he is and take him off when he gets to the top of mountain. It's like, yeah, that's pretty bang on. He's an incredible player. I love watching him. He just makes the game look so easy.
Yeah, it's impressive.
You think there's like a coach that's just out there holding like a certain sheet of pink and it's just like matching his face up to that pink and it's like, oh yeah, he's there.
It's like,
he's there.
Who looks? Yeah.
He's
it's
tired.
like, what am I going for? Is it
a bunch of paint
salmon,
chips, right?
Yeah. No, he's gone full. He's gone full lobster. Bring him off.
That skin tone coach gets paid a lot because he works for Man City, and I want his job. I'm going to say it right now. I would like to be the guy who holds the paint chip up to De Bruyne's face.
So you want to work for cheaters?
I'll do it. I don't. You can buy me for. I'm not. I'm an easy buy. I'm an easy buy.
He's nice.
He's not even a real Man U fan. He has other clubs he supports as well.
Yeah, totally. I do.
Bad his
completely
team's doing. So
I won't apologize for loving TFC, Brian. I won't apologize for loving TFC, Brian.
Speaking of Man U, and
Man United survive, air quote survive, a scare from Newcastle coming back after going down 1-0 after 7 minutes. This now extends Man United's. I don't want to even say it like this, but it's an undefeated run of 5 Premier League games for Man United, but it's still 2 drop points because obviously you can't go to fucking Newcastle and not expect to get 3 points right now.
I don't know. Sounds like a salvaged 1 point, I think.
I think that's more accurate, Cameron.
It's on the course of the game, it's a salvage 1 point, but in reality, it's still like you mark it on the calendar. You should get 3 points after Newcastle right now. So
that's why
it's a bit of a loss.
Ronaldo and he ruined my fantasy league.
It was in fact a gutsy performance by Newcastle, who I think can probably build off of this momentum that they've gained here. But they still have a nasty habit of dropping points. They've dropped more points in the Premier League from anybody after going up in a game. And they have possibly lost both St. Maximum, who was on fire this day. He was amazing. I give him all the credit in the world. And Luke's boy, Callum Wilson, both who pulled up and had to get subbed off this game and probably look like they're going to be on the shelf for, I would imagine, 4 or 5 weeks based on what I saw.
Bad looking injuries, man. Bad looking injuries.
Wow, it is brutal.
Yeah.
It's like even when it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of a situation. The one point against Man United would feel like a win for them. I think they had a lot of spirit. You could see it in the interviews after the game, but to lose those 2 players who were so good, one of them in particular, St. Maximum, was so good today. It does make the next run of fixtures they have in front of them troubling.
I want to help Luke understand what happened today with something that our colleague, Mr. David Convery, posted in our WhatsApp group. Times Man United players lost possession. Bruno, 26, Rashford, 20, Delot, 19, Sancho, 14, McTominay, 13, Telles, 12, Maguire, 11, Varane, 11, Fred, 10, Ronaldo, 9, Greenwood, 8, De Gea, 7, Cavani, 5, and Matic, 3. That's what happened today. The passing was atrocious from United. I've never seen a top flight team pass that bad, especially
I would say
the team like Man United.
As a Man United fan, I definitely they looked so like rusty is the only word I can give. Like the first half, they just looked like they hadn't been playing football for a while.
I think the COVID got to them. Maybe is it that bad?
I don't know what it is. This was 16 days without playing a game, and they've got a new manager, and they had been given homework and like exercises at home. They only had like 1 or 2 training ground sessions, but a lot of that is probably him figuring them out as much as him trying to give them new instructions.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the result is, but what I saw in the first half was just sheer rust, like just like the amount of just stupid shit that you just don't do if you're like in any kind of
it was Sunday League stuff is what it looked like.
Yeah, it was just silly stuff, and getting down that early. Raphael Varane, I think, is probably partially responsible for the goal that was given up to Newcastle early, and it felt like he just wasn't like
had some serious rust on that.
He hasn't played in 6 weeks, and he's still adjusting to the Premier League, and he thinks he has time to like take the ball under control, and you don't in the Premier League. He's gonna have to figure that out. I thought the second half was much better. I thought the tactical changes were exactly what United had to do. I thought the results of the substitutions at half and maybe some tweaks were. I think Cavani had 3 opportunities that were almost identical in the box. All of them were generated by build-up play. All of them were almost what we had been missing before, where they were generated by some sort of pattern of play to lead up to him having the ball in the box on 3 different opportunities, but he scored one of them. I think both teams could probably feel like they could have taken the 3 points this game, and that's probably fair. And it was honestly, having not seen my team play in 16 days, it was a terrible first half experience, but I managed to enjoy myself with the second half. I thought it was an exciting second half, at least.
It was exciting. That save that De Gea made after Newcastle hit the post, which was in the second half, was an insane.
It sounds
save.
like you just had a wank for the second half. That's exactly how that. Well, I managed to enjoy myself.
That makes way more sense for sure. He was fapping.
You didn't enjoy a 1-1 second half draw with Newcastle.
Well, I don't think anybody could enjoy the first half because it wasn't even Premier League quality.
It was
play.
awful. Yeah,
it was just awful. Like if you're a Newcastle fan, I'm sure you loved it, but like it was just terrible. At least the second half felt like, okay, well now we can see where this goes, and it had some element of excitement to it. I can't pin anything to one player, but it did feel a little bit like if Cavani was I don't know, fresher, I don't know, whatever. The 2 opportunities he didn't score, I would have put my mortgage on him being able to put the ball in the net.
Yeah, there was a couple of those on the Newcastle end too, though. It was equal on both sides. It could have been.
It was, but they don't finish. Like I don't expect them to finish those. I do expect them to miss those because there's a reason why they're at the bottom of the table.
That's what they do.
Cavani's like, it's the ball in the box at his feet, and he's got time. I really do put my money on him to put that away. But you know what? We move on. It's going to be interesting to see what the reaction is to both these teams. If this is something that Newcastle can build off of, that would be interesting to see. And certainly Man United need to work some stuff out in the very short window of time they have to get some stuff going. I would hope to see Cavani continue to play. There's a lot of talk of him being sold sometime in January, but for me, he is a first.
No, that'll be Martial.
First,
He's your best 9, man. For sure.
It's not one of the other guys. It's if they both want to go, they both have an opportunity to go. Is what
Do you know how long Martial has been at United, Paul?
7 years.
Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
7 years.
That's
I think
insane.
for every year, every the start of every season, it's been this is his year. This is his breakthrough
And he thinks
year. And
better than he is, too, which is just frustrating. He's got this cockiness about
I've
him.
always, when he's good, he is brilliant. Like he just is brilliant. But I don't know what it is. I've not watched enough of him. I don't know, but it is disappointing because he's
not
there's
a
potentially
killer.
a fantastic player there. But
He doesn't have a killer mentality. Like he doesn't hate to lose. Like you can just kind of see it. Like he'll do very well in Italy and Spain.
He hates to miss, but he doesn't hate to lose. It's very
His
personal.
footwork is insane. I just don't think he's a Premier League striker. I think he's like one of these guys who's not a Premier League striker, but then he's handy to have on the left. So like you can never really tell what his position is. I wish him all the best. He goes with my blessing. I've been done with him for a couple of years now. So
Speaking of players on the left who won the this week's star player of the is he playing on the left at City at the moment?
this year's ISO dates top performer of the week is a guy named Raheem Sterling with 2 goals, 4 successful take-ons, a pass accuracy of 91%. He had an amazing 3 ball recoveries and was given an impressive 9.3 Who's Scored rating. He has our full congratulations for
Lucas
well-deserved
Moura should have gotten in on
star player. He'll be given a text message for some free ISO date time so he can meet fellow people who are looking to meet others during the pandemic.
He has improved. Because he started the season and ended last season not in good form and sort of lacking in a bit of confidence. He looks like he's regained it again. He's looking.
Well,
he's
it looks like
looking
he's good
the
in
player.
Euro, right? How good he was in Euro. I think he looked really good there.
Just look domestically, he was struggling a little bit. Lucas freezing up a little bit.
That Leicester backline was very suspect, though. As good as Raheem has looked, it's sustained, right? We want to see him continue to keep up this form, which I think he will. I think he's one of those players that get very mercurial and then get very cold.
Yeah.
But it's the scary thing is like who's going to be good this week for City, right? The fact that you can bench Grealish and Foden for them going to the club and then them laugh on the bench while they just thrash a Premier League team. It's terrifying. It's very scary to how good this team is.
It really is, and not having a proper number 9 amongst that as well.
I think we all underestimate how much that doesn't matter to Pep Guardiola's system. I think a false 9 is all he needs, and we were all like, "How can you do that?" And he's kind of shown us that he can do that.
It's his system, though. I just think it's the sheer amount of quality. Like Bernardo Silva was the fringe player, right? He was like everyone knew, and then he has absolutely flown off the handles, and then he's gone quiet. And Raheem Sterling had been pretty poor the last couple of weeks at the start of the season, and Pep obviously said, "Listen, you're not guaranteed your starting spot, even if you did get to the finals of Euros. It doesn't matter." And so he's had to work. Everyone's having to work harder because everyone around them is so damn good. They know if they have 1 week where they don't. Phil Foden sat on the bench. Jack Grealish, 100 million player, is sat on the bench. It's like,
well, they're still in the dog.
Riyad Mahrez. It's
all right. I'm sick of talking about them,
bit,
man. I'm sick of talking about them.
One last point on Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling is now five goals in his past 4 starts for Man City.
Yeah, that's ridiculous and annoying.
When he's flying like that, they're all flying. Like that's anybody who can do that. I just get so baffled by the whole thing. I'm just like, I got flummoxed by it. Like 5 goals in 4 starts. And we question whether he's good enough. And this was a season where he was maybe going to get moved on. And it's just like Pep Guardiola just knows exactly how to play these guys and exactly when to play these guys.
I was wondering what your flummox face looks like, and now I know. I've got it as the collection now. I want that NFT, the Paul Flummox.
Yeah,
will that now replace the Lukaku nightmares you've been having?
No,
I don't have.
I've been having them, and he's chasing me, and it's frightening. I'm throwing Villa players at him, and Mings is just bouncing.
See Luke in his tight sweater
in the corner. Yeah, exactly. Like just not able to move.
What he left out is it's actually Lukaku chasing him to tickle him. He's like chasing him just to tickle him, which is terrifying, and we should all be scared of that.
All right, guys, let's move on. Let's get into the previews. Polly, on your bike.
I would. I'd be serious.
2 games already postponed for what will be a run of games tomorrow. So check the early team news before you do anything in fantasy, because before 10 a.m. tomorrow, there might be some cancellations that affect whatever your team is. That's my fantasy advice to anybody. We are dealing with a situation where there's a few hot seats. There's a few hot seats. We'll talk a little bit about Brendan Rodgers, who I think is in a hot seat, and Chelsea, who we've just talked about a little bit, are starting to go into a run of fixtures that I think are going to define their season. But all this starts with Crystal Palace hosting Norwich in a oh my God, like both these teams have got to be limping in here with their heads
Form
down.
is just crap. 4 losses in a row for Norwich and a draw before that, and 3 losses out of 5 in their last 5 for Palace. That's just it's a bad situation for both clubs.
I think this is like a relatively, like, Crystal Palace should be considered the favorites for this game, it being a home game, it being, just looking at the standings. But I don't know. I just have this hard feeling saying that Crystal Palace have got a win in them right now.
No Wilf Zaha, because he's obviously going to have a game suspension from the red card. Maybe that'll be good for them. Maybe they'll.
I agree. I think Palace win this game
without him.
I think Palace win this game. I think they're going to bounce back. They're angry. Without Zaha, they've got to change the system up, and I think you're going to see a lot of these players who I think were showing really well for Palace earlier in the year come through. It's Gallagher who's playing at Palace right now. Right?
Gallagher's
I think he might really star well in this match, and hopefully be able to show Chelsea what they're missing. But not that they're missing much, but I think that'd be a good performance for him to show how, I think, out of their depth Norwich are, but Palace, have a chance to bounce back.
Yeah, Vieira back on the bench as well, which I think will make a difference for them.
Worth noting, it took an 85th minute equalizer from Wilfried Zaha the first time they played each other this season for a 1-1 draw. So let's see what happens here.
Crystal Palace, the cardiac kids.
That's true. Southampton hosting the resurgent Spurs. I'll give them that.
Resurgent, consistent, unbeaten in 6. I mean, that's not resurgent. Resurgent would be win 2 in a row. Come on.
We said resurgent. It's already been made. Move along.
Get your adjectives right, Paulie.
What a weird thing to get contentious about. On the balance of your season, you're definitely a resurgent. You're on the up.
All right, on that case, I'll give it to you.
You're digging yourself out of the cellar that you got yourself into early.
Come on, guys. Fit in Lamella's one goal into the pre-cut for the show. He's going to protect everything Spursy.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, my God. I didn't even notice that. You're right. What does that say about us? What are we putting out into the world? This has got to be a fairly straightforward win for Spurs, I imagine. Southampton just won 3-2. They did surprise West Ham, but that was their first win in 6 games.
There's
a
bit of worry.
Spurs.
A bit of worry for me about Spurs. So this is a record in the Premier League. This will be 51 days without an away match. It's the longest any team in Premier League has ever gone that long without playing away. I worry about that because of the travel and what is involved in that, and of course the cycle rotating the squad is going to be an inevitability. And of course Conte is going to have all that and know all that stuff. But it's a long time to go to not travel. You get cozy in your own bed, right? And then when you're in a different room in a different hotel, it's hard to sleep. So I think that I don't think it's going to be as simple as a Spurs respects.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I think it'll be a tighter.
Talk about clutching at any potential reason for the loss. Well, you have different hotel and the wind might be horrible.
I've not done my point. If you shut the fuck up and let me finish my point, I don't think it's going to be as simple as Spurs spanking them. I think it'll be tight, but I think Spurs will win, which is what I was going to say before I was interrupted by the rude Luke boy over there.
Because they might get a west-facing hotel room.
Because they haven't traveled in 51 days, and that's a difficult thing for any squad when they haven't done it. And I think it's a good point. So you can laugh all you want.
Well, they haven't traveled in the Premier League though. They've traveled. I imagine they must have traveled in the European competitions, right?
They played one game in that period of time, and that was one game that wasn't very far away, and they lost.
Interesting. And this is I think the first meeting of the season for Southampton and Spurs. I don't know if there was a postponement, but I don't know. This seems to me like a shocker if Southampton can get any points out of this. I feel like you guys are just in this really healthy rhythm right now. I know, there's probably going to be some complications with the fixture pile up and all those other things, but I feel like if you're going to put some money down on something this week, it would be Spurs to beat Southampton.
Well, I got to say that Southampton have beaten both Villa and West Ham, so teams in claret. If Tottenham's away jersey might have any sort of claret coloring, I don't know. Maybe Spurs are in trouble.
Hang on. What's going on here? Have we got another great miscommunication and misspoken word here by our North Americans? Claret.
The color.
Claret.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Claret. It's
I don't even know
beautiful.
what's going
We have
on anymore.
JP's Norwich. We have Paul's. Every team name. It's great. I love it.
This is just a weird
Guys,
pause
I'm mute.
for. I don't
He's
know.
making fun of our English.
I know it's just like a weird. It's not like I'm glad you're here to translate because sometimes with his accent I don't actually understand what he's saying. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
don't worry.
You can't have an English soccer part a Premier League and not expect me to highlight wonderful words that you guys say so beautifully, like claret.
I think we probably could, just so we could just keep going without breaking rhythm.
No,
to have
no.
you like
I really enjoyed it.
be the grammar police.
Well, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. West Ham, who beat Watford 3-1, are now hosted by Watford in a game that sees Watford, who I think are on 4 straight losses, have West Ham limp into the stadium as visitors. This is I almost feel like a must win for West Ham at this point. Like if there's any chance to turn things around and get some momentum back the other way, they have to beat Watford. But Watford, since Claudio Ranieri has taken over, their record hasn't shown it, but they are looking much better than they have well before the managerial change. They've lost certain games to certain teams, but they always seem like they're in it. They have a few players that I think have become quite dangerous for them, like Denis, which I assume is how you say it because he's French, but it could be Dennis for all I know. I worry a little bit for Watford because they haven't played in so long, but at the same time, is it better to be sitting back and getting rested and getting ready for the visitors, West Ham? I can see some points being dropped here by West Ham, if you want to call it dropped. I can see
do they keep
Watford
falling down do they keep getting worse?
I could see beating Watford being a tricky proposition for them. I really
They
can.
were tricky for United, right? They spanked you guys pretty heavily earlier in the season, so they have it in them. That wasn't like a United dig, although it was nice to have one. It is that they have it in them. They have there's more to them to Watford than what you said what the record shows, because they have played better football under Ranieri.
I'm not a statistician, but it's so difficult to gauge what Watford will do. They're just such an enigma right now in terms of, yes, you've got Ranieri fitting in his system, and Paul said there's some great things to say about how they play, but they're not winning, right?
Yeah,
they still don't look like they're gonna win. And West Ham, I think have recently kind of fallen out of form, but here's their chance to really come at a team that may not know what they are yet and impose themselves. But I really am unsure what to expect out of this game. I could see a draw.
Yeah, it's a little tricky because, they got a new manager and he took over and it started really well. Basically before he got in the gates, they beat Man United, which is awesome for them. Terrible for me. But then they had Leicester, Chelsea, Manchester City, and Brentford. Brentford is probably the only one that you could say they had a chance of winning that game. But the other ones were like, nobody's going to take a win off of those 3 teams in a form that Watford were in, and Claudio Ranieri was just through the gates. He hadn't really had a chance to impact them. So all you can really do is the eyeball test of they're looking better than they had before, but they're still losing. This is probably where their fixtures will start showing us what they really are, because now they've got teams that are in the bracket of beatable. West Ham were not one of those teams, but I think based on current form, they now get qualified as a beatable team for Watford. So yeah, I don't know. This is the one game I think there's probably a good chance of an upset.
17 games without playing. How much time spent on the pitch training versus COVID, isolation. I'm just really not sure about that. But do you see the rust that we saw on United today, or do we see the freshness and vim and vigor that we saw in Tottenham versus Liverpool? Right? It's a double-edged sword.
It's I think the difference will be time away, but time with a manager that's actually had chance to work with them for about a month before that happened. So that might be a difference. Who knows? What I will say is Leicester are going to get pummeled by Liverpool.
Spanked.
And that's the next game. Leicester are just shipping in the goals. They're not looking defensively sound at all. If there's another team on the planet that's scoring more goals than Manchester City and Liverpool, I don't know where they play. It's not in any league I've seen. We're talking about 2 hugely dominant offensive teams, and Leicester have to like play both of them within the span of like 4 or 5 days. That's got to be demoralizing. I feel bad for Brendan Rodgers, but I totally expect a rolling over on this game by Liverpool, and I hope to start hearing some Brendan Rodgers hot seat talk after this, because
we've had a bit of it, haven't we? We've he's been on the conversation, like, who do we think might be the next one to go? I think there's that sounds ridiculous because of what he has achieved under Leicester, but his form has not been good.
No, and
The heat's got to be there, though, hasn't it? The heat has got to be there.
It's got to be there. Yeah.
I don't want him to go. I just want there to be some sort of heat. Like, it's always driven by the press and the public. But if there's a manager that should be next on the firing line for like at least the heat, it should be Brendan Rodgers. And I don't want
13 points off the top 4, and Leicester were the last couple of years that's been there. They just kind of fall apart at the end of the season, don't they? But the rest of the line, they were good. Whereas now, all of a sudden. But they've been hounded with injuries, haven't they? They've had like Ndidi's been out a lot. Ricardo right back was out. Vardy picked up a couple.
Newman's just came back terrible after being one of their best players.
Yeah, they haven't, but their form just hasn't been good either, like across the board. Yeah, I mean, there's injuries. All teams are getting them, but they just haven't been playing good football.
But it's form, but underlying stats are like the 4th most goals allowed in the league.
The defense is
the most goals allowed from set pieces in the league. Like, there's just these like really unacceptable stats that you can't get if you're going to be in the top half of the Premier League, let alone where Brendan Rodgers should be taking this team, because this team has the talent to compete. Not saying top 4, not saying top 6, but certainly be better than this. So for me, this is a Captain Mo Salah all day.
As long as they play.
Yeah.
As long as it's not called off, which I don't. I think Liverpool have been pretty safe.
Still managed to get pretty good points with losing him as my captain last week.
And then maybe this is a good question to ask, because I'll put this out there as well. Not that I was overly impressed the last time I saw Liverpool play with their makeshift midfield. Is this maybe not as straightforward as we think if Liverpool are going to be short-staffed in the midfield and they have those massive passing lanes that we saw their last game against Spurs? Because in that case, there are some players at Leicester that could maybe punish them. Maddison's very hot right now. Jamie Vardy, we know, likes to play against Liverpool. Is there an opportunity for Leicester in this game that we're maybe glazing over because the situation at Liverpool is not fully fit?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we did see...
I did see a news article that came out today that got passed on to me that Fabinho, Van Dijk, Alcantara, and Curtis Jones are all coming back. So whether we see them start or feature on the bench,
how fit are they?
A huge booster, because I think Fabinho is probably one of the most essential players in the Liverpool squad, shortly behind Van Dijk. I think if Van Dijk slides back into that defensive core, they're going to be much more stable and confident, because Alisson's been a bit crazy brained this year. So I think as much as we've been depleted the past few games, if they come back and start, it's a different team that played against Leicester in the cup match, in my opinion.
As you were describing those players, I had this mental image of like something getting tighter. Like, it was a very loose 11, and now I'm just like, no, all those passing lanes just got closed up.
How are you feeling about it, Cameron? Is there any nerves, or like, obviously with fitness is being an issue, but are you feeling confident like the rest of us are? Because I feel like Liverpool, despite the game against Spurs and being a little bit depleted, I still think they're, that your side is very good.
I think emotionally, Leicester must be just devastated. The past 2 results for them have just probably been pretty crippling. That'll either spur you on and get you excited and up for the next match. And I love when you've got cup games and league games so close to one another that you can have these types of rivalries where you've got bad blood over 180 minutes. But I think the team that's going to come out and play against this Leicester squad is different, right? You didn't have the Manes running at them, the Salah for 90 minutes. Even Jota came on and played the villain. So I'm supremely confident in the squad that Liverpool will put out to really test Leicester, and I think they've been found wanting far too often. So I think this is a win for Liverpool that continues to cement that Leicester are in a bad place.
Yeah. Fair point.
Solid.
Chelsea hosting Brighton, I gotta think Lukaku's gonna start this game, and I gotta think
Yeah,
Chelsea
for
are,
sure.
are looking to roll on from that second half against Aston Villa. Whereas Brighton, again, we've talked about this many times, are a good team. They are difficult to beat. They are very strong in the midfield. They are good with possession. They just
Organized.
don't have the clinical finish you need in that phase of play in the final third to be a real threat. But they can be a difficult proposition to anybody in the Premier League. I think we get to the point right now where we have to start understanding how deep they are, how much time they can rest bodies, what kind of rotation they have, because we know what Chelsea have. And I think that'll probably be what separates these two teams, is that Chelsea will have fresher legs and will have guys that they can put into the midfield that Brighton, frankly, don't. And I think what we're going to see here is a good game of football, but I think Chelsea are going to have to take this one for 3 points.
Yeah, like I don't think you can argue with that. It's Brighton are gonna be. It's gonna be a fun game. I think this will be one of the better games of the next few days. Just with the quality that Brighton have, they're, like you said, they keep the ball really well. Chelsea played really well in that second half. Looked like the Chelsea from earlier in the season, and I think they're going to want to continue that. And it should be a fun game to watch. But Chelsea should have enough.
I hope we get to see some of the Chelsea depth here, rolling through Ziyech, through Pulisic, through even the Werners. Like, does Tuchel get to tinker here and throw out a different 11 to
I think he's too
organization?
I think they're going to have to. I mean, with all the fixtures piling up,
No.
I think they're going to have to. I mean, I think every team you're going to see slight tweaks. It's not going to be big ones. You're going to see some of the big players are going to play, but I think against the Brighton side at home, it's one of the better times. Not to change it completely, but to change one or two positions.
maybe one or two.
Do a lot of running, and you're going to be like, you're going to need a rest because you're going to play again in 2 days, and that's what they have to do to get through it, especially with having COVID gone through the entire league, and everybody's probably somewhat more tired than they usually would be.
Well, I think we've seen Klopp be criticized of his, management into December, January, and Liverpool maybe dropping points. Just Tuchel had that same German influence where, he's got a great manage to the front half of the year, perhaps maybe the back half. What's that middle look like for him? And
For sure.
I think he's a little spoilt for choice. So this is a good test for Tuchel to showcase his ability as a coach, because he's looked more human recently, as has the keeper as well, right? He letting that own goal in last game. He really showcased that these imperfections.
That's a point I wanted to ask. Did you guys see the Villa Chelsea game?
Yeah, the Mendy goal, he should have had that 100%.
So that was a big thing, and there was I don't know. I feel that's really harsh on Mendy to say it's a quickish ball coming in. It takes a horrid quick flick off James. I don't know. Do you all agree that Mendy should have got to that? I thought that was harsh. I thought it was
I could see a keeper getting that. I could see a keeper getting caught flat-footed on that. Like, I could see it both ways. I definitely don't chalk it up as a mistake on his part, because
me neither.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to say he cost them there. It's you'd expect a player of that quality and pedigree over the past 12 months to save that. I would.
He's looked a little bit shaky though, hasn't he,
Yes.
Cameron? Like the way you said that he's a bit shakier than he's been in previously. So
if the greater point is that he's been shaky, I think that's fair. For the last 6 games, he's had moments where he's definitely been shaky. I just don't think I would put that on the docket of lists of items that's been shaky, because for me, it's like, I mean, his body position would have been going where the ball was supposed to go, and then James kind of flicked it.
He's also a big man too, to shift his body as quickly as he would need to do that in a short space of time.
I think Chelsea stole games a few times there with saves from him last season and this season, and those are the little chances that a team like Brighton will take. And I think that's what we see here is, can Tuchel tighten this up and not let that free cross get in, right? He wasn't even pressured on the cross.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
So, you're seeing that little bit of loose play that I think Tuchel's got to stamp out, which I think he can.
Yeah,
I don't think you get the same team in PSG here where he can actually enforce his expectation and system. It's just whether it cues in. But I think Thiago Silva has been not Thiago Silva, sorry. Who's the defender at Chelsea? Center back.
Rudiger?
Rudiger.
Rudiger's been really well, and he's now in a contract year, so it's getting him to really buy into that everything around him with what that club wants to do. So
that's not going to happen.
One eye out the door.
He's not going. He's leaving, like, for sure. He's not going to be a Chelsea player next year. Like,
Who you think Rudiger's gone?
Yeah, Rudiger's gone for sure.
He's on the docket now to be signed on a free,
because
Real are calling apparently.
he's
Yeah.
essentially a free agent in the summer, and he's spoiled for choice. He'll go to like a Real Madrid.
Go where he
he'll
wants, yeah.
He'll
I
go
don't
for
think
like
he works
a
at
big
Real Madrid.
contract.
I think he gets found out. I think he's just doing really well at Chelsea. I think the strength of the players around him. I don't know.
He will
maybe
not
I-
struggle to get a more impressive financial offer than what Chelsea will probably give him, is what it comes down to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
100%.
but yeah, well,
Money.
but they're not short of cash, are they? And if they want to keep him, I don't know.
They're not.
I mean, yeah.
If you don't know the situation here, they're not currently offering him the kind of money he thinks he can get somewhere else, and the contract negotiation has kind of hit ahead. And most Chelsea fans are saying he's out the door, and they kind
They
of
got
get
players
that.
like Chalaba coming through as well, who are
Looks
really
great.
young,
Yeah,
very
looks
good
very good.
players, and you don't that
Seems like
he's
a big player to lose, though.
but he's an older
Well,
player.
I mean, if we haven't talked about the situation, Azpilicueta's likely going to be out the door as well because he's getting on and he's got a contract that's winding down. Thiago Silva's
There's a few of them.
his contract is winding down as well, and there's talk of him maybe also moving on. He's getting older as well.
Retire, man. He's old. 36.
Yeah.
Insane
So
how good he is, though.
it's not yet coming to a head. It shouldn't be affecting them this season, but in the summer, this is something they're going to have to repair.
They'll do a lot of work for sure.
And it's a big reason why they were chasing that kid from Sevilla in the summer, Koundé, and why not being able to land him was seen as a big miss by a lot of Chelsea fans. But yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, Chelsea, Brighton, for me, probably the most interesting thing is Lukaku and what does that Chelsea team look like with Lukaku? Because we saw it and then we didn't see it for 6 or 7 weeks. And can they get something rolling and get playing in a certain way that we actually think they can beat Man City and Liverpool, who are coming up next on the fixture list for them. So that'll be a
Forward
good
to those games. Yeah.
good game to watch to see what the gelling of the whole team looks like. Brentford, on the other hand, host Pep Guardiola, who have never been to Brentford to play. So Brentford probably don't realize what it's like to be beat up 7-8 nothing.
I don't even know. What's gonna happen.
Not yet. Not yet.
But not yet, but yeah, it's coming, guys. It's coming. I'm sorry, Brentford. Again,
the levels are going to be seen in this.
There's
game.
nothing to suggest this is going to be different, is there? Like,
No.
it's just
No.
City are just unbelievable. right now.
5-6-0, I think. Is
and
a
I'm going to
comfortable-
call one thing now and say that the doghouse is going to shut a little bit for Phil Foden and Jack
Yeah, I think
Grealish.
so. Maybe one of
And-
them will get their place in the
And
squad.
they will go out there and they will be on fire, and it will be us a week from now going, wow, Pep Guardiola, he knows exactly how to manage. You sit him down
Will
for
he-
being
will he
silly,
start
and
both,
then
or will he start one?
I think they both get a nod to start
I
this
could
game.
see them both playing.
Honestly, he
You
could
think,
start
eh?
Ederson at striker at this point. They'd probably still win.
Yeah.
I think Edison would be a decent striker, personally, but there we go.
I bet he would be.
Probably a great
Yeah.
midfielder. Holding mid, I could see him as an 8.
Yeah. He has fought many times publicly to be the penalty keeper. It's just a hop, skip, and jump to being the starting striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what? In about 10 games, you could probably start to do that because they will have locked up.
They'll be
the title
so far
anyways.
ahead.
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
That's the ultimate shit talk move. Here's the starting 11, guys. I got Jack Grealish as keeper.
Just taking the piss.
Yeah, this is what you get for going out that last night. You're a net.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Sunday
our
league. I
pickup
love it.
games. Everyone's looking the
love
other
it.
way. Like, what? Goalkeeper.
So on to Thursday then, yeah?
Everton, who have to be excited about Newcastle coming to town just because their run of form, Everton, so bad right now. They are desperate for 3 points anywhere they can get them. Newcastle are, I think, limping into this game. They're traditionally a pair of teams that don't like each other very much anyways. I think this should be a really good game. I do not know what to expect from either team. Both have been decimated in different ways by injury and COVID and haven't really been playing a lot lately. And
Wow,
this
the injury lists on both teams. I'm looking at them like, holy crap.
this has the
Yeah.
makings to, I think, being a really impressive game. It's the first time they'll be playing each other this season because of postponements that happened earlier. I gotta think sooner or later Everton have got to start winning games. So for me, mostly because of the injuries from Newcastle, because the players I was really impressed with today are not going to be available, I don't think.
Everton don't have anybody either, though, Paulie.
There's some talk that certain players have been back in training.
Oh, is there?
Like
Okay.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin is potentially back for consideration. But yeah, I mean, like if you look at on paper right now, unless they're kind of hiding something because they haven't been playing and haven't really had to like give anybody really like confident Like they haven't had
It's
the
like
Rafa
nine-
press conference hasn't happened yet. We don't know what he's going to say yet, who's available.
like nine of their typical starting 11 players are injured.
It's a lot. But I just my gut says entertaining game.
Yeah, it could be.
The Rafa Derby, I think, it should be a really good game, and I was really excited this on the docket. And then literally at the end of that United game for Newcastle, I was like, oh, it's really sucked the wind out of what could have been a really exciting game for St. Maximin. And I think Joel Linton showed huge amount of work ethic in the midfield last game. I hope he gets to continue that into the next match.
He was very good.
And he showed a really, really good game. And it was really sad that the announcer was like, do you think that's your best game you've ever played?
Well, when you get signed for 40 million as a big Brazilian striker, you know, whether you think it's fair or not, it's a pretty decent statement to make. He is still a horrendous signing for 40
and he didn't score. So it shows you what his midfield role is. But I think this should be a really good game. I think Everton win it, in all honesty, as much as I hate to say it. But it would have been a really good game had Castle come out of us last game healthy. But I think a home game for the Toffees, they win that.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
Speaking of needing to get a result, Man United host Burnley. Burnley, who I don't think has played in like forever and ever and ever. Like, I can't remember last time. Yeah.
A Ronaldo brace here, mate. I'm going to call it. I'm going to say at least 2, if not 3.
15
Ronaldo.
games played for Burnley, so they have the least amount of games played out of any team in the league at the moment.
Oh, God.
Now, is that because they're all uneducated and unvaxxed? Is that a faux pas to say, or
It's likely true. I mean, based on what we know about the world at the moment, unfortunately.
Sure, why not? I'm going to call it right now. I actually think Ronaldo doesn't start this game.
No, really.
Well, sooner or later, the holiday fixture pileup requires you to rest players, particularly guys who are closer to 40 than they are 30. It's not an indictment of his ability or skill, and he probably
Does
comes
he
on.
look unfit to you? Today, did you feel like that was the case? I felt like he, out of a United team that was playing just poor across the board, he stood out as being one of the better players.
I want there has to be a distinction from me saying you have to rest the guy first. He needs to be rested because he's not performing.
Fair enough.
You rest the guy before he stops performing.
He didn't
not
look tired,
after.
but yeah, I get what you're saying. That's fair.
It's just, they played today, and then they got to play Thursday, and then they got to play Saturday. Like you got to find at least one of those games where he's not required to start
against
or
Burnley
play.
Is a good one, isn't it?
Over 60 minutes. Mason Greenwood scored 2 goals earlier in the season when they played Burnley, and Cavani scored a goal that game as well. I would suggest that probably want to start with Cavani and Greenwood for this game, neither of whom just played full 90 minutes against Newcastle, and probably feel like they have a point to prove to go out and score some goals.
Yeah.
It's going to be another experiment, I think. It's going to be a little bit of a different starting 11 from what we saw today at Newcastle. I think there's going to be rotation. I think there's going to be another 45 minutes of rust under the Man United team. For me, this is a nightmare scenario because Burnley is a team that I think can probably give anybody trouble, can get smashed by anybody, but also are so unpredictable and are so big-bodied and are so direct that all it takes is a couple of corners and a couple of battles to be won on individual players in a corner situation that they go up. And I don't like it, but
it's a test for United, right? And it's a test for the mettle of what the coach is going to be able to implement here, because Burnley's going to come out rested and ready to go. If not maybe off the pace, physically they're going to be willing to take some skin off the United players. And
their bodies on the line.
Fernandez wants to get into a tackle in the midfield, and if these players want to put themselves on the line against a team that really just will kick you, this will show whether United want to be in Champions League this year.
Will.
They've got to take these points at home. So I think it's a really good litmus test for United. If they come out and show, hey, we're here, we're evolving under this coach, I think it's a 2-0 victory. But if Burnley come out and say, I don't know how badly you want these points, and they draw, I can see a draw here as well.
Yeah. I could see like a 1-1.
I just want Burnley out the league. Just I've wanted it for a couple of years. Like
too much claret. Too much claret for Liverpool.
It's the claret. It's even just if you just look at the logos, right? even their logo just looks shit. Like it's a shitty
It's old school
blue,
English, man. It looks like it's
blue.
fucking Robin Hood or some shit. You know?
Oh man, it's just
Great.
everything about them, you know, like they're dirty. Like I really respect, and it's crazy to say this because I really do like Deitch. I really enjoy him as a person. He's actually got a great personality. If you listen to him on podcasts,
He's a funny guy.
I think he's done a great job with fuck all really, but they've just been lingering. They don't add anything. You know, Burnley as a place is a hell on earth as well. You know, and I'm sorry if anyone's from Burnley, but if you're from Burnley and you've
No,
just
you're
heard
not.
me say that, no
Move.
part of you is going to disagree with me. In fact, you're going to write to me and say thanks for mentioning us at least. It just get them out the league and just I'm a happy boy. And so United just drill them. You know, Wan-Bissaka with a hat trick. Let's go. Let's go.
Worth noting, I think that there is COVID in the camp at Man United. Victor Lindelof has got it. He is a central defender, and I don't know how you can
hear
get
any more about what happened to him a couple of weeks back.
He had a full battery of tests. So framing it, he had a moment on the pitch where he was complaining of not being able to breathe. It was then reported afterwards that not only did he have issues breathing, that he felt like his heart was racing. So he had seen a few specialists. They had checked his heart. He had a heart monitor installed. He's been under the care of medical teams. I don't know if that increases the likelihood of getting exposed, or if because he's doing that kind of work, if maybe he's not training with the rest of the team. Along the way with all of this, he also had some issues with his infant son, who has been hospitalized for something that hasn't been published.
Rough time.
He's had a pretty rough time and pretty rough go of it. Obviously, that's terrible for the player, but in the context of this conversation, the question becomes, is pandemic worry that we have to worry about, is one positive test for a player meaning that we're just days away from other positive tests from other players?
Yeah, does it spread and how quickly? I mean, we've seen it from this Omicron thing that it just goes through through clubs quickly. So
yeah, so
it may mean a canceled fixture.
It really depends on if Man United can actually pass anything, including a virus.
Burn. COVID jokes.
Wow.
COVID jokes. Too soon?
It's a strong finish. I like that, Cam. Well done.
Even that, I'm confident it'll only go to like one or two players, and the passing percentage will be like 10%, 15%.
A quick question, quick thoughts on the table, and of course when these fixtures are going to be made up. You know, we've got teams like City who've played 19 and Burnley who've played 15. That's a 4-game difference between. It's a lot, right? I mean, I guess
flips.
I get Burnley aren't in Europe, so that arguably when City are playing in Europe, then Burnley can play a midweek game. But it is odd, right? Because we haven't seen this, right? And typically not like this in the Premier League. If maybe a team has a game in hand, like a single game in hand, but it's not typical where we see it where it's this many different different situations. And then of course, how does that affect how teams play and where they are in the league? And it's like watching the MLS a little bit. I just was curious, Paul, I'll ask you first, like, what are your thoughts on how they're going to fix it and what it means for the league and for the teams that are have got to make up all these fixtures?
It's so difficult because they're still in a situation where it's very, very likely games will continue to be called off week to week in a reaction to the tests that are happening right before. So we can only assume that the number of games and fixtures that have been set for rescheduling will grow and grow. I can't see how they could possibly fit that into the regular season length. So for me, they're going to have to extend the season. We're going to go
right into the next season, right into the World Cup. It's just
I don't know. It all depends again on how many like if Liverpool have to make up 3 or 4 games, and I'll use them as an example, then you don't need to extend the season past maybe 3-week period. Like you won't give a lot of time in between the games.
But then they're also potentially playing in the Champions League fixtures or cup fixtures at that point as well. So
at that point, that's very wishful thinking.
Yeah.
By the way.
I was talking about Liverpool, Paul, not Man.
But but the reality of that is it's still the unknown of the scheduling will be, are they available for midweek games? Are they still in that tournament? If we do want to extend the season past a certain point, are we giving a Premier League team that's maybe deep into the Champions League a disadvantage by not giving them the rest that like the Bayern Munich team that they're facing off against has, as an example? So I think there's going to be a lot of things that have to play into this, and it's going to be probably case by case, because rescheduling Liverpool's games means you have to look at Liverpool's full docket of
everything
games.
that they may have to play. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's possible to do that within the context of the season start finish dates as they are now. I think the first thing they're going to have to do is get behind the idea of extending the season at some point to allow these games to happen. And I think what ultimately ends up happening, and I just because Man City haven't had really games called off, we're going to be extending a season where we already know who the winner of the league is.
Yeah.
And that might be interesting because there might be some teams, like even in the relegation, that have run their race, they're done playing, and then they just have to watch 3 games to decide what's going to happen, which is a different kind of excitement. It's more of a hold your breath, but it could have, depending on what we're watching, what the consequences are of the games we're watching, could be a really exciting finish because of that.
I wonder if they went behind closed doors earlier on, that they wouldn't have been in this situation. Not to say that I want that, because of course I want the fans there, but it's a strange situation.
Not really the fans though, right? It's mainly the players passing it on between themselves. I don't know if that was going to make a change behind closed doors, but I think fixture lists aside from that, the 3 really big teams I think that need to be looked at for rescheduling games is Tottenham, Watford, and Burnley, all sitting at 15 and 16 games respectively. Those are huge positions because you've got 1 sitting on the cusp of Champions League and 2 sitting on the cusp of relegation.
Yeah,
those are really, really crazy things to see pivot because
Spurs aren't in Europe anymore. So thankfully, and I'm glad that that's the case, because if you want to call it Europe, it was a shit tournament anyway. So arguably you could play on those Thursdays, Wednesdays or Thursdays that we
didn't even want to be there.
Yeah, no, we didn't. You can laugh all you want. We didn't. It was a shit tournament. It was happy to be out of it. It's probably for Spurs, it's going to be easier than some of the other clubs. The relegation ones would be huge because of what it means financially for those teams if they aren't able to get out of that situation and end up getting relegated. It's a massive amount of money lost in those situations. So difficult.
Yeah. Luke, anything? Klopp will complain though, Paul. Klopp will complain about fixtures as he always does because you're right. Yeah, in a league like Germany or Spain, that'll not solely insulate their teams in Champions League, but they'll say, all right, too many fixtures, but the holiday season in England is always going to be one that's dominated by games. So I think honestly Omicron will clear out. Personally,
I think I just make them FIFA games. Pick your 2 best FIFA players, and let's do it on there. Let's go.
Randomize. Just put on two computers and randomize.
Luke, anything to add to this chat before we call it a night?
No, I've not really said a lot for the last 20 minutes, and there's not really a whole lot to add. I think you guys have done a great job. Well done.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank Cameron for being here with us. It's been a pleasure. Great job, and good to have a Liverpool supporter on. With first, we keep trying, and we haven't been able to find one that's that we actually want to talk to. You seem all right. So,
where's the? By the way, where's the pickup footy been? That's what I want to know.
We've been at Coronation Park here right downtown, but you can always join us, Paul, if you want to play. That
WhatsApp group got quiet.
It did,
and I got fat.
I left.
Fatter.
Well, we want to thank obviously all the people watching and listening, and Merry Ho Ho and Happy New Year to everybody. We'll see you in the new year. I guess we'll probably catch up right after New Year's with some of the fixtures that are going to happen, and we'll do another show.
Brian, we're doing this again Friday, buddy. We're doing it again Friday.
I don't know if I can Friday, man. Maybe we might do a show Friday.
That's what the listeners want to hear. We might be back Friday.
Well, it's New Year's Eve, and it's a very busy time. So you guys could do it Friday. I might not be here Friday, but you're welcome to. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here, and we'll see you all again soon. Cheers.
Thanks for having me, Cam.